I think one of the biggest challenges there is consistency of service and assurance of service. And you know what I'm referring to, because this has gone as farther as the consumer industry, the consumer ministry of India, people complaining that you don't know if you hail a ride, whether it's Uber or your competitor, whether the driver will actually go where you want them to. Kahan chalna hai is the most dreaded question. How are you addressing this?
Tamanna, you hit the nail on the head. And I'll be the first one to acknowledge that if you look at the pillars of the promise which we stand for, which is affordability, safety, and reliability. On reliability, we have had patches where the promise has gotten broken, or the confidence that we wanted consumers to have was eroded for a period of time. Particularly with the Jana Kahan Hai, where when we promise you that you press a button, a four-wheeler, three-wheeler, two-wheeler comes, you shouldn't have to worry about whether the trip will happen, whether there will be a negotiation, etc. And that burden of fixing that has to be with the platform and resolving that. Without getting the root causes of what was causing it, particularly in light of coming out of the post-pandemic era, fuel price increases, we have gone ahead and through a very thoughtful process of hearing from drivers, hearing from consumers, we have deployed a bunch of technology solutions to fix that, and we are already seeing some good progress. There are three things we have done. Number one is we are making sure that the drivers get compensated in case they have long pickups, which was a big concern why they were choosing to cherry pick certain trips. Second, we're actually providing now a much detailed and higher information upfront to drivers with a single thesis that we are going to give you information where the trip will be, what the payment method will be, and if you accept it, then you must complete that trip. And thereby we are giving choice to the drivers, which they really wanted. At the same time, we want to take the burden away from the consumer and fulfill our promise. And the third thing which we have done is to obviously reflect our prices in line with the cost of operations, which is fuel prices going up. Collectively, we have seen more than 85% reduction in drivers now asking destination.
But what about cancellations? Have cancellations come down?
We have seen about a 40% reduction in cancellation. There are still pockets where either riders or drivers are cancelling because they feel that the journey to travel to pick up someone may not be worth their while, or for the consumer it may not be worth their wait. And we are working on some further solutions to fix that. So again, this is a pillar of our promise we obsess about. We have seen significant improvement. From here on, it will get better as more vehicles enter the category. Remember, during the pandemic, the number of new vehicles entering the category slowed down organically and naturally. And as now demand has come back on the platform and cities are moving again, we are seeing a resurgence of confidence in drivers and fleets buying new cars, putting them on the road. We are also obviously bringing in three-wheelers and two-wheelers which have abundant supply already available. So between these measures, I'm pretty confident that you will be able to confidently say, look, Uber is a reliable service, and hence I may not need that second vehicle in the household, or for some people, the first vehicle.
So another bugbear, I would say, of consumers is surge pricing, because nobody likes to pay more and no one is quite sure what the algo behind it is. You could be paying, I think, 2, sometimes up to 3 times fare on the same distance, depending on surge pricing. Would you like to clarify how does Uber come up with these rates? What goes behind surge pricing, and why should consumers not feel that they're being unfairly charged higher?
I think this is an area which has obviously been debated for multiple times, and I think there is a lot more richness outside the ride-hailing category on this now. Indian Railways has actually embraced dynamic pricing. Airlines and hotels for time immemorial have had that. And I think now many consumers and drivers actually understand the value of this, because what it allows us to do is the platform to organically flex pricing in pockets where there are high demand or low demand, and to encourage more supply to come online. And you can see that work mostly reasonably well, other than in extreme situations, for example, extreme rains, etc., which we recognize are extraneous circumstances where we make sure that the algorithm kind of reflects that. So if you look at the core principles which we follow is to just improve the marketplace reliability, which is a promise which I said we want to fulfill, because eventually you need to compensate drivers for the extra effort they're putting in. The second is, across every city we operate, we already comply with local pricing regulations. And most states in the country have those pricing regulations. What that actually means is, even if there is some dynamism in the pricing, it will stay within those fare caps. So I think the consumers should actually have the confidence that when they are booking a trip real time, it is the most efficient pricing which is happening, which will help them actually complete the trip. And majority of the fare they are paying is actually going into the driver pockets. And you upfront get to see the fare, and in case there is any doubt, after the trip is completed, you have the option through the app to press a button, and within mostly 24 hours, you will get a response and a resolution in case there is a dichotomy in your understanding versus what the platform is telling you.
So all of these were some points from the consumer point of view, but since you spoke about drivers as well, anecdotally, drivers often say that they don't get as much as the consumers being charged. And initially, when Uber came into India, they were getting a better deal, which is why they went out and they got their cars, and now they seem stuck with it. They're not making as much as before. Now, this is individual sort of stories or their perception, but what is the real picture?
Tamanna, I'll give you the facts which they should contrast any anecdotes, because it's very hard to respond to anecdotes. Yeah. Today, when a rider kind of pays a certain fare, a certain percentage of that goes as GST, which we collect on behalf of the driver and pass on to the central or the state government. And a very large percentage of the fare goes to the driver, who is the asset owner and who should be compensated for that. The way we look at some of the facts, if the driver does not make fair earnings for the effort he or she is putting in and for the cost of the vehicle investment they have made or the fleet partner is made, you will not see more drivers joining the platform. Today, as we speak, every month, we are onboarding more drivers on the platform than we have ever done in the history of our business in India.
Any numbers you can share in terms of what is the percentage that goes to drivers and the average number that you're onboarding?
On an average, the Uber would typically take about 20% as the service fee for being able to provide the service and all the infrastructure to be able to deliver the service. That's kind of the ballpark number. It may have some variations by cities, etc., depending on those cases. So if it is important, at the end of the day, the drivers are the face of the platform. They're the ones who are providing the service. The fleets and the drivers are the ones which are the asset owners. And providing them sustainable, fair earnings, which are better than any other alternative option which they may have, has to be a promise. Otherwise, they will choose to not drive with us. They may choose to drive with competition. They may choose to do trips outside the ride-hailing platforms. So because they have the flexibility to do that. So it is in our interest to make sure those earnings are sustainable. And the facts are there to say. Today, we have more than 600,000 active drivers on the platform who are doing at least one trip a week on the platform. And the number of new drivers entering is in thousands. I don't want to get into specifics, but larger than we have ever had in the history of our platform in the country.